Greeted with news of Terunofuji's latest pullout on just the second day this time, long-term sumo fan and novelist Yasutaka Sudo fumed. What does he call this? He should only put himself in with a suitable sense of Yokozuna duty. You can't just test the water, lose the first bout and step out. It's insulting to all those fans who've been looking forward to his entrance ceremony. Now, while I doubt that ceremony is a deal-breaker for hardcore fans like us, the sumo arena is also packed with first-timers, including tourists these days. Hence, Sudo's claim is not without base. More spotlighted, though, were the words of Yokozuna Council chief Masayuki Yamauchi, who said, "That's quite some predicament Terunofuji is in. I believe he does have a sense of Yokozuna duty. That's what's pulling him into these tournaments. But I'd rather he held back on fighting until he's properly healed." No one doubts how much he's achieved as a lone Yokozuna. But a Yokozuna's duty also includes considering his suitability for the role. Now I'm sure he's a wrestler who can do just that. "Wow," was the initial response, for it does signal a step change in tone. The Yokozuna Council, as you've likely gathered, is exceedingly generous with champions it likes. Kiseno Sato was given a near-blank check to nurse himself back to full fitness. Kakuryu was only told to turn up once it became abundantly clear he'd received his Japanese citizenship and qualified for Elder Stock. And Terunofuji last year was told it would be nice to see you again, but only after he'd strongly signalled he'd be returning anyway. For the record, Teru has signalled this time he'll be fighting again in July, but never before has the council urged him to consider his position. And the nuance of Yamauchi's words appears to be this: if you really intend to stay, stop acting as if you intend to quit. Yamauchi has doubtless received reports of Terunofuji including his son in ceremonies on tour, just one of the recent actions which suggest he's packing things in. And, argue other older observers, wouldn't it have been fitting if he'd bowed out this time last week, having handed the baton to Ono Sato? It's what great Yokozuna do in May, these observers recall, citing Taiho's loss to Takanohana in 1971, and Chiyonofuji's defeat to Takahanada 20 years later. Okay, he then fought 2 more bouts, but he said he resolved to quit after that one. And the May of the following year, of course, saw Hokutomi hand in his retirement papers, even though it meant no Yokozuna would remain on the chart. Given that man is now Sumo's chairman, Terunofuji should have no fear of leaving the chart Yokozuna-less. He can't be attacked for that. But the crucial difference seems to be, argues Sankei Sports' Manabu Suzuki, that whereas Hokutomi could see several potential replacements back then, Terunofuji cannot right now. Even if he strains his neck to search, he only finds 2 Ozeki with badly strained necks, and 2 others who tend to drop first-week bouts. Komusubi Onosato might challenge one day, but most likely not this year. And there are other factors keeping Teru on, I'm pretty sure of that. One man who did consider his future and boldly left the stage this week is Kotoeko, who held his retirement presser on Sunday. His most memorable bout, I'm pleased to report, was one which I featured in my own tribute, the only time he contested a final match of the day. Here then are some of the other key quotes from Kotoeko's retirement briefing. Having done sumo for so long, I'm obviously sad to be quitting, but at the same time patting myself on the back for how well I did with this humble frame. Being smaller than average, as you all saw, I placed extra importance on not being beaten for spirit, and on steeling myself for every bout I fought. I may have been competing alone, but I never felt that way in the ring, as so many people were on my side, making me braver each time. I was supported in so many ways, by so many people willing me on. Can I start by thanking the master, his wife, my salaried colleagues, and unsalaried juniors for bringing me to this point. You are the family who've carefully watched over me for the past 17 years. To the master, I say, thank you for bringing me into the fold. If you'd never reached out to the teenage me, I would never have lived this life. Even now, there are those around me saying, you can still do it, Eko. But having judged myself to be no longer able to perform as Kotoeko can, I've elected to hang up my sash. I set myself up to have no regrets with my overall sumo approach, and am therefore sure I have made the correct decision. My mind was actually settled back in March, when the addition of a hip problem to my knee issues made it impossible to fight my way. Going forward, I want to pass on my know-how to the next generation of Sadogatake men, not only in matters related to the ring, but in those related to private life. I want to try and get them, like me, to focus on sumo 24/7 every day of the year. And NHK pundit Mainomi explained what that could practically mean. Even when he was not fighting, he'd always be doing something at the side of the ring. Exercises, weights, things like that. He just plugged and plugged and plugged away. And the depth of the bond between man and stable is revealed by Kotoeko's comments on Ozeki Kotozakura. Right from my earliest days in the stable, I was lending my chest to the 9-year-old Masakatsu prior to his latest junior tournament, Kotoeko recalls. And when I look at him now, 17 years on, I think what an incredible story it's been.